Thank you for being here. It's so exciting. I've been building websites since 2012, and since many of my clients stay with me, some for over a decade, I have a number of old sites using old themes that could use updates. Today we're going to touch on 3 websites and learn how to update a classic theme website to a block theme and keep the look or change it without ever needing to use a page builder. Technology is always progressing, and we need to keep learning to stay current and continue to use the best websites for our clients. And often that means doing something new. So that's what this is about. A little bit more about me. I've been active in Portland WordPress Meetup since 2014. During COVID, the Portland WordPress Meetup group, pdxwp.com, went to online meetings, and we're still stuck there. I miss in-person, which is why I'm so happy to be at WordCamp US. One little plug, though, for the Portland WordPress Meetup. David Sargel has a monthly help desk, last Monday of every month, and you can find it on meetup.com, and it's the Portland WordPress Meetup, and it's great to go get information and help there. So, but first, who here is from Portland? Yay! And who here is in Portland for the first time? Oh, yay! Well, today, in addition to learning more about WordPress, you're going to learn more about Portland, the City of Roses. Welcome. So the first site we're going to look at will be the Lester Viles North Portland Project Association. Now, this organization was actually formed in 2006, and I don't know who built their original website. But when I joined the board, yes, that's how they got a website out of me, was they joined the board. I found a site with multiple plugins that were no longer supported. The result was that I could not update the PHP level on the server without breaking the site. And this left the site slow, open potentially to hacks. The original theme is actually still supported, but I felt it would take more work to figure out the theme and figure out which new plugins to add instead than it would be to just redo the site in WordPress 2025, which is what I did. So you can see here what the site looked like before I started. So the big thing I want you to remember here is the first step is to create a staging site. That's number 1. Don't do this live. Create a staging site. And this is how the site looks now. You can see the board didn't want any big changes in the design. They like their logo, they like their colors, the general look. They did want to change the domain, so we went from a more confusing domain to lvgrant.org. And they wanted to simplify the navigation, and importantly, they wanted to add an online application. And I used Gravity Forms to add that online application. And you'll see one of the points there is, due to the design of the original theme, update all posts. So what does that mean? That means that the content of the posts, and I don't know if that's because of the original theme or because it was people did the posts incorrectly, but the content of the post was contained entirely in an excerpt. So I had to copy the excerpt, paste it to the page content, and so it took a little while to do that. There weren't that many posts, but that took a little while to figure that out and then bring in the image that belonged there in the first place. So this page here, you see, it begins with a paragraph block, followed by a group block that I styled with a border and a blue background. And there's a link to sign up for MailChimp, and then 3 columns with images at the top of each of those columns. So after bringing up the staging site and adding your 2025 WordPress theme or whichever block theme you want to use, one of the first things you'll do is go through each page and post, changing the content from the classic editor to the block editor. Now, if you have a classic editor plugin installed within the site, and who doesn't, right? Because many of us, when the block editor first came out, were trepidatious of it, weren't sure of it, and we installed that classic editor. So the first thing you have to do is deactivate it. Once you deactivate it, you will see a gray box on the top of your content that says Classic. Click in that box, and that gray box will again instead say Convert to Blocks. So, like the athletic company says, just do it. Just do it, baby. There's never been an epic fail that I know of. And all the times I've done this, the content translates, deploys over very easily. Paragraphs will be paragraphs. Headings will be headings. Images, you'll still have the link. It might not show the way you want, but if you go to your image library, you'll find it there. And usually it's highlighted in the image library because it knows it's linked. And then you just go in and bring it in again. And line it left or right or whatever. If you have column blocks in there from your original classic theme, that may not deploy perfectly. You may have to add column blocks and then cut and paste information. But keep in mind, you still have your old live site. And so you can copy information from that and paste it onto the new page if you need to, if there's any problems. If there's a YouTube video plugin, for example, you may want to add the YouTube block and then add it in again. But generally, it just goes along really smoothly. This is the second site we're looking at today. I built this site in 2015 using the Canvas theme. And the Canvas was a theme developed by WooCommerce before it became part of WordPress. I actually built a number of sites using this theme, and it deploys to modern WordPress without any problems at all. So this is the before. You can see that originally it had a sidebar on the home page. And this is the after. They weren't using the blog, so I removed it from the navigation. And the most time-consuming part of this was going through the meeting materials, which had piled up. They had a very long home page. They just kept adding more stuff on top. The board changed, you know, this happens. Okay. Working with the board, I removed all but the most important meeting materials and put them on the meeting materials page. Also, the client had inserted an image of the Register Here button. And that was linked to their online registration for a meeting. I changed this to an actual button by styling the button block. You can see that the top of the page is a paragraph block. Below that is a column block with 2 columns. The first column has a heading, a button block, and a paragraph block. The second column has a heading, and then as a 3-column block was added inside it, where I included images of a downloadable PDF that they wanted up there. Okay, so this is the third site. I will talk about MP Greenway the most today because it took the longest to complete. This site was originally built on Blogger in 2006. Who here can remember Blogger? Who here has never heard of it? Well, who has used Blogger? I am so glad the old folks showed up today. The images were on Flickr. Who thinks Flickr is a kind of bird? Well, Flickr spelled without the E is a place you could upload images. And by the way, it's still there, and so are your pictures. In 2015, I was asked to build this new site for the MP Greenway. I brought over the posts from Blogger with their embedded Flickr images and added them to the new site. That was 10 years ago. This summer, we decided it was time for a website update. I went through each post, and with the approval of the board, I removed some that were trivial. We kept all those posts that cited city or metro studies, even if the studies are no longer available on the city or metro websites. because many are not. The fact they are mentioned and described in npgreenway.org may help with government accountability, and as you know in Portland, we're all about government accountability. I also keep all posts that mention NP Greenway events and activities. This is, after all, an advocacy website. The embedded Flickr images were not showing, but I was able to follow the links in the posts and go to Flickr, download them from Flickr, add them to the media library, and then back into the posts. This took a long time because there's over 200 blog posts. And I want you to know I use the redirection plugin to redirect posts that I did choose to remove. As I said, after installing the 2025 theme, I tend to update the posts and pages before updating the header for the website. What you have automatically is the basic 2025 theme header with the name of the website as is listed in settings and navigation, as is listed in settings, and then you'll have the navigation. The navigation will be similar to what you had before. I'm not updating the navigation just yet. I just want to show you how to update the header now. So first you go to Appearance, Editor. And here you can see that I updated the home page. It shows here when I select Patterns. So you go to Appearance, Editor, then Patterns. And finally, you select Header. So you have selected Appearance, Editor, Patterns, Header. And you're going to use this system for updating the whole website pretty frequently. Your footer the same way. You want to update templates on specific pages, same thing. That's how you get there. The 2025 theme offers several header styles. You can see some of them there. And what you see here is what it looked like after I styled it. So you see, to see all the blocks in the header, I select it and then selected the top 3 lines in the top left. You can give your header a different background color by selecting the first group block and then styling it on the right side of the screen. Where you see the site logo in this picture will be the site title block in the original WordPress header I picked. Click it. Then click the little 3 dots and say Add After. Then I add the site logo block. WordPress may already know what your site logo is, or you can find it in the media library. Once the site logo is in the header, I go back and select the site title block and I remove it. We don't need both. I can also select the site logo block and make it bigger or smaller. And that's a very handy thing. Similarly, on the Lester Viles header, I added the image below the navigation by selecting the second group block, the 3 little dots, and hitting Add After. So after adding the image, I made it wide width. So you can see that there's a group block that covers everything in the header. Then there's another group block that covers the logo and the navigation. And then after that, but still in the first group block, is that image. And this is how I styled the Salem Capital Connections header. We wanted the logo to be large with the navigation below it. So I added a separate block before the row for the primary menu and after it as well. That's a separator block. I added the color for the separator block when I clicked on it, and its styling options appeared on the right side of my screen. So just like you edit blocks on a page, you edit blocks in the header the same way. So going back to the npgreenway.org site, this is a new website. The top of the home page, just the top of the page, I'll talk about the bottom later. Like the others, it is using the WordPress 2025 theme. This shows a 2-column layout with a heading at the top of each column. In the left column, the image is left aligned. In the second column is a YouTube embed block for a video shot in 2010. Still on YouTube. Below the video is a link to the NP Greenway Flickr account, so you can see all their old pictures. Okay, so a little Portland lore. Portland has a 40-mile loop that is designed for bicycles and pedestrians. It's a Greenway trail. We've been developing this loop for over 100 years. Seriously. It was proposed in 1903 by the Olmsted brothers as part of the development of Forest Park, which is a 5,200-acre park within the city of Portland. The 40-mile loop is now about 140 miles and connects more than 30 city parks. And the MP Greenway is just the portion of the 40-mile loop that runs from the Rose City Transit Center, which is very close to where we are, to Pier Park in North Portland, and then to the confluence of the Willamette and Columbia rivers. And like the 40-mile loop, the MP Greenway is still incomplete. The next portion we're going to complete is a bridge that connects from over Columbia Boulevard. So you'll be able to ride all the way on your bicycle, ride all the way up to Columbia Boulevard, take the bridge over, and go on up to Kelly Point Park. In 2006, a group of bicycle and pedestrian advocates started this nonprofit organization to help make this portion of the 40-mile loop happen. Never underestimate the importance of a website and a group of volunteers who update the content, because it really does make a difference. We wouldn't have what we have now without them, and they wouldn't be building that bridge if it weren't for this work. This is the lower part of the home page and includes a slider that the original Canvas theme included at the top of the site. So in the original theme, Canvas had a slider portion. I had these images in that. I'm using the Soliloquy plugin to add the slider. It is the same images as before, but because I haven't gone out and take new ones, and it's kind of the same pictures, view hasn't changed a lot, I have kept them. I also kept the slider this size rather than going full width, because these old images will get a little pixelated if I blow them up. When at some point I'll go out and take new pictures, put new images in, and make it a full width slider. Okay. When I first brought the 2025 theme, it did not show the slider at all because that was part of the Canvas theme styling, so I added it here. Below the slider is a query loop block, bringing in the most recent posts and their featured images. The query loop block has multiple layout options. For example, if I chose a featured image to appear on the left and for read more to be part of the paragraph, you could always change that. If you're using the query loop block, there's lots of different query loop options, and there's lots of ways to style them. You can select how many characters are shown before read more and how many posts to show on each page, for example. Of the 3 websites, I'm showcasing the footer for the MP Greenway website because it contains a lot of information important to this organization and important to links. Note how the copyright information reads. It is added with a short code from a plugin, and we'll look at that again in a couple of slides. So right now it reads, it's really small, it reads 2026 to 2025, 2006 to 2025 copyright, lists the copyright symbol, etc. Getting to the footer is same as going through the editor to get to the header. There are several footer options in a 2025 theme. I didn't take a screenshot of how it looked before I styled it, but this is how it looks now. When I click on the footer and select the 3 lines at the top left, you can see how the content was added. In this screenshot, I've added the site logo. I generally like to make sure the logo in the header is the same size as the logo in the footer, and that's one reason I like being able to just use a little slider and styling that, make it bigger or smaller. If we break down the columns, you can see that the first column is pretty direct with a heading and 3 paragraphs. In the second column, I wanted to really highlight the supporters, particularly the legal firm. So to accommodate the smaller logos shown across from each other at the same line, I added 2 columns within that column. So there's that 1 column block with the name of the attorney's firm, and then we got a 2 column block inside with the 2 images and then another one and then 2 more, just single, it's still part of the 1 column. I also styled the column to have a white background and rounded corners, which highlights it. The 3rd column has printable maps, the trail alignment plan, and contact information. And this is the bottom of the website footer as seen from the site editor. I made the navigation full width here. Note the very last line. This is a row block with 2 paragraphs. One is aligned left and the other is aligned right. I could probably have used the shortcode block instead of the first paragraph block, but the paragraph block allowed me to style the content into a smaller font. Of course, on the site, the copyright reads copyright 2006 or 2025 and includes the copyright symbol. The plugin I use to generate the shortcode is current year, symbols, and IP shortcode, and it'll update automatically on January 1st, 2026. So this is just a summary of what we covered today. I haven't described how to update the navigation, but I generally just do that in the header by selecting the navigation block and editing it there. So in summary, first you create your staging site. Then I didn't include this for whatever reason, you put in the 2025 theme and activate it. And then you change the content on your pages to being the block editor. You add and style your header, you add and style your footer, you do any redirections you need to do, and update the navigation and style the navigation. These are some of my favorite plugins. And you know, if you're looking for good plugins, these ones work for me. Sassy Social Share makes it easy to add social icons that prompt your site visitors to share content on their social networks. And there's a lot of options. I mean, there's so many different social options to have. This plugin's free. Gravity Forms is a professional plugin that I use on any website that requires a form. It just works really well, and if you have questions about how to set up a complicated form or one that includes e-commerce, you can email them and get help. Current year symbols and IP shortcodes allows you to add copyright information and years into the footer that will update automatically on a new year, and that is a free plugin. Ivory Search is used on sites with a lot of content. You can insert a search block in the navigation or add a search block to specific pages. You can also select what it searches. This plugin is free. Redirection is important if you want to update your navigation or remove any posts and pages. It makes it easy to set up a 404 redirect, and for any content you remove. This plugin is free. Short Pixel Image Optimizer is a must if you have clients uploading their own images. They will undoubtedly upload images that are not saved to the web that will potentially slow the site down. It is a professional plugin. And finally, I like the soliloquy slider. I only use it when I want slider images, but it allows you to set up sliders in a variety of sizes and includes MIDI options, and it is a professional plugin. There's always more to learn, and these resources have information and answers. So I want to really highlight anything by Wes Theron. Just every time I've watched his videos, it's like he really explains it easily. You get it. You can find his on learn.wordpress.org. Log in and search for anything you need. And most of the videos there are, 7-8 minutes, pretty short, and they really focus on one specific thing. WordPress.tv, this includes online workshops and WordCamps, as well as online Zoom trainings that Wes has done. You can find his on WordPress.tv speakers/Wes-Theron. And there's about 200 videos he has up there covering pretty much every aspect of WordPress. And if you have questions on how to do your header or how to make a different image in the header for every single page, you can learn how. And it's not hard to do. And I've done sites with a different image for every page on the header, and people love them if they need it. Now we have time for Q&A. Thank you so much. So questions. Oh, we got a question. Please use the microphone if you can.
Hello. Thank you so much for the presentation. This may be a bit too much of how the sausage is made, but I'm wondering from an agency point of view how you approach scoping these, giving project quotes on these, because it feels quite hands-on from what you're doing, and it borders more, in my mind, on kind of a design refresh or even a redesign, more so than simply converting content over. So you don't have to quote any numbers. We can always do that in person, but yeah, I was just curious how you approach that part.
That is a really good question. On something like this, I don't usually do a contract. Instead, I tell them it's going to be a per hour. And the reason I do that, if I'm building a website from scratch and I've built a whole contract, I have a pretty good idea how long it's going to take me, and they get a contract, so they're not surprised. It's not like, oh my gosh, it's, you know, at the end of the whole thing. We know how much. If I take longer to do my job, that's on me, right? But when something like this, like with 200 blog posts, it's just going to take a while. And so I told them what I thought it would be. But I said, that's not, you know, it's going to be per hour. And these are nonprofit organizations in my neighborhood. I gave them a pretty good price. But I still have to make a living. So that's what I did. I track my time. They know how long it's going to take. Well, they find out. And I said, you can make payments. It's okay. Yes.
So I am the webmaster of a site that has over 500 pages and over 1,000 posts. And I want to convert it to a block theme. Is there any way to automate any of this?
Okay. 500 pages and how many posts?
Over 1,000.
Okay. So my next question is, are you using a page builder?
No.
Thank you. Thank you. That's good. That makes your life much easier.
It's a custom classic theme with custom plugins that go with it, and it's all on me.
Okay. What I'd recommend is first, I would put it in a staging site. And then I would recognize that every page does not need to be transferred over initially, right? So you have your main navigation pages. And you have these 1,000 blog posts. They don't all have to be transferred over. You can look at those blog posts from somebody who's just looking at the site, and they'll look fine. So I would do what I could do. So the main navigation pages would of course be styled, made sure they all work exactly the way they should using the block editor. And I'd still have the classic plugin, the classic plugin deactivated. So when you're in the administration of the website, go to a blog page, you will see classic, and you'll see, if you hover over it, you'll see convert to blocks. You don't have to. You can always go backward and just leave it the way it is. It's still going to work. Okay? And once we do your header, update any content, there's going to be some content in those main navigation pages that needs to be updated after this many years. I know there will. Make sure all that's good. Do the most recent posts. The last 10, for example. And then, at your leisure, you can do the rest. There may be things on there you don't need. You can just redirect them. Posts that are really irrelevant now, redirect them to the blog page. That's what I do. It makes it, and then, you know, if you have downtime over the coming months and years, you can update some blog pages that you want to keep on there. That's what I do. Next question.
Hi. I'm wondering if you use, I've got a two-part. Do you use any kind of version control, and how did you move it from staging to live?
Both very good questions. Version control, no, I don't. Okay? Moving from staging to live, I found out that depends on your host. I'm used to using SiteGround, and I am sure if I hosted on automatic, it would be the same. There's just a button I have to push, and it deploys the live site. Takes a couple minutes. However, the LV Grant people had their site hosting on another hosting platform, which was a real pain. And their hosting was too small to download a copy of the site. So we ended up, they did it for me. But if you have good quality hosting, setting up a staging site is easy and deploying is easy. It just should be, talk to your host. If you don't have that ability, really think about changing. I mean, I would have gotten LV Grant off that hosting, but I didn't want to be responsible for staying on that board forever. Okay, next question. We can't be done yet. Okay, I'm going to tell you what you didn't ask about, and you should have. So there's more. So when I went to the blog page, I had done all these posts. I'd gone through, I was still in the staging site, okay? I'd gone through all these 200-some posts. They were all looking pretty good. They all had the images they needed. I was happy. And then I went to templates. Remember, we go to Appearance, Editor, Patterns, and instead of selecting header or footer, I selected templates. I found the blog page template. And I selected the query loop I wanted to use. Okay, I thought this will look good. We got, 3 images going across, a little content. I styled it, added a little content, figured out how many characters I wanted, etc. Published. Went to the blog page. It looked great. Except when I hit next page, it didn't go to next page. It stayed on the same page. And I was like, oh, what just happened? This isn't working the way I want it to work. I went back to that template again and changed the query loop entirely. Picked a different one. Published it. Went to the same thing happened. Went back a third time. Picked a different query loop. Published it. This time it worked. Yay! So I hit next page, go to the next page, a blog post, next page, etc., etc. So then I knew there was something different in that query loop that I picked this last time. So I went back to the template, and I hit the 3 bars, and I scrolled down, and I looked for what's different. And I found a pagination block in there that wasn't in the others. So I copied it. And then I went to the query loop I wanted to use. I went down, and I pasted it in. I published it, and it all worked. Had my pagination, went to the next page, perfect. So then I came yesterday to Contributor Day, and my contribution was at the core performance table. And I said to Wes, to Weston Reuter, who was in charge of that table, I found a glitch in the 2025 thing. And so he replicated it, and then he asked, is it a glitch? I was like, well, of course. But then a guy across from us was listening in, and he started working on it. And he explained to me, this is a feature. So, there are many query loops, many styles of query loops, more than I knew. And sometimes you want to use a query loop on a landing page, in which case you do not want next pages under there, right? So that's what the situation is. So you can either pick the one that has next pages, or you can look for that next pages block and plug it in at the bottom of your query loop. But that's how it works. So just if you run into that and it's not appearing the way you want, or it's not doing what you want, you can edit it, and that's how. Is that it? Any other questions? Are we done? You guys want your coffee and cookies, don't you? Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you again.